So as you all know, last month I talked about on this channel how I ended up losing a lot of motivation to study Spanish. I completely stopped studying Spanish and was lost in terms of what I should have been doing moving forward. So I decided to, as you all know, you've seen the video, I decided to do a domestic immersion process where I was completely consuming Spanish content, interacting with native Spanish speakers as much as possible here. And so in this video, I'd like to discuss the results of that immersion process. It was pretty fruitful, it was very helpful, I got some great results from it, so I'd like to share that with you all in this video. Also, I'd like to say that I found it funny that a couple of people on the video that I made about me losing motivation to study Spanish, a couple of people wrote in the comments like, well, I think he did this on purpose as like a plot twist to his channel to create more content. Guys, I promise I'm not thinking that deep about this. I'm really not. I'm just genuinely documenting everything. Like, a lot of these conversations are just genuine conversations that I have. A lot of the videos that I make are just genuine thoughts that I'm having along the process of learning Spanish. So please don't think it's that deep. Like, I just came up with this plot to say that I've lost motivation and I don't study Spanish anymore, and that I'm gonna save myself by doing some process. That's not the intent here. So I just wanted to share that before I get into some of the results from the experiment. So just to break down what this immersion looked like, every day for the past month, I've listened to at least 2 hours worth of podcasts, either passively or actively in a day. I've also made sure to read at least 5 to 10 pages of some kind of book or some kind of article or some kind of excerpt in Spanish every day. I also have made sure that I've had at least 3, I can't say lessons, but 3 Spanish conversations that I speak in Spanish for at least an hour, 3 times a week for the past month. I've done that also. Along with that, I have made an effort to speak with anybody in public that I hear speaking Spanish. These are pretty much the tenets of this domestic immersion process so that you can see what I did specifically and how it's resulted in positive impacts on my ability to speak Spanish. I also forgot to mention there that I've been listening to a lot more music in Spanish, and that's something that I need to work on, but I don't do a lot. Even before this, I did it, but not a lot, but I really dive deep into different genres of music in Spanish, and so that's something that I've also done during this month-long process. And again, what that looks like is maybe me listening to 5 songs a day right before I'm about to go to sleep or when I wake up that are in Spanish. It could be salsa, bachata, reggaeton, and I'm intensively like focused. I'm trying to understand exactly what's being said. It's not passive listening in terms of the song. So that's what that domestic immersion process looked like. Now to the results. The first tangible result that I've received from doing this is that I have to think a lot less when it comes to understanding and speaking Spanish. Meaning, in English right now, I'm thinking about my thoughts, I'm compiling my thoughts, but I'm not thinking deeply about the proper conjugation of verbs. I'm not even cognizant of that concept in my own language. What I just described there is what has happened to me in Spanish. When I'm speaking now, I'm not consciously conjugating verbs. I'm not consciously thinking about, is this placed correctly? Am I speaking properly? That's something that I had to do before this. It was the work, I could flow, I could speak well with the language, but I had to consciously be actively aware of me using proper grammar, of me using the proper word order, things like that. After this experiment, I can call it, I've had to do that much less. Again, I'm not a native Spanish speaker, so it still happens, but I've had to do that. I don't have to do that as much. The language kind of flows for me a lot better. It's like you can feel it. You can feel that the language is flowing from you a lot better. So that's the first tangible result that I've seen. I'm distracted. Sorry, guys. Everybody's looking at me. But I have to think less at this point, is essentially what I was saying. So long story short, the language just flows from me a lot better. I feel more comfortable flowing with the language, if that makes any sense. The second tangible result of me doing this domestic immersion process was that I now spend a lot more time thinking in Spanish. And I would even go as far as to say that my default self-think, like if that makes any sense, when I think to myself, the default language for that is Spanish now. And I think the reason for that is because outside of the context of work or speaking with people in public here or my friends or family here, most of what I'm hearing is Spanish. And so if I'm in traffic and someone's driving, excuse my language, but driving like an idiot, let's say, I'm not super aggressive on the road, I'm not a not somebody that has a lot of road rage, but let's just say that's the case, right? I'm behind somebody that's constantly braking, or they're speeding up and they're slowing down, or on their phone and swerving, whatever. Instead of me saying, why are they driving so crazy, in my mind, right? I would say this in my mind. Instead of saying, why are they driving so crazy, my mind automatically goes to, ¿por qué ese bobo está conduciendo tan estúpido, tan loco? It's what comes to my mind first instead of the English version of that. And again, I think that's just simply a result of me being covered essentially at all times, you know, immersed at all times in the language. And so that's another secondary tangible benefit that I've noticed, is that my self-talk, my mental thoughts are now in Spanish. And that's happened to me before, but it was 50-50 English and Spanish. Now, because I'm constantly consuming Spanish, that's about 80-20 Spanish to English. The third tangible benefit of me doing this domestic immersion process has been that I can speak Spanish a lot faster. And I apologize for the dogs in that neighborhood back there, but I can speak Spanish a lot faster now. I'm not a big fan of speaking fast in general in English or in Spanish. That's just not my personality. I'm more of a chill guy, and so I don't really speak super fast. But it's helpful to be able to speak a lot faster now. And again, I think sorry, I'm getting distracted by those dogs. What I was saying is, I think that speed increase, that ability to speak a lot faster, these dogs won't let me be great. It's always something. It's like the planes or dogs, whatever. So what I was saying, sorry, is that I think that increase in speed is coming from me feeling more comfortable. Like I said, the language flowing, and so I'm not having to think as much. And so as a result of me not having to think as much, there's not as much hesitation in my delivery of the language. The language comes out a lot faster, a lot more coherent, a lot smoother as a result of this. I can't remember what number I'm on now, but what I can say, let me back this up a little bit. What I can say is that another benefit that I've noticed from this immersion process here in the United States is that I make less errors with genders, los géneros. For example, a lot of the conversations that I have on my YouTube channel, I can't even watch anymore because I'm like, did you just really say that? Did you really use el piel for the skin? Did you really say the skin, but you said it with the incorrect article, whatever that means, right? Grammar terms, right? But it's cringy now to hear that. I'm noticing that I make fewer mistakes now with genders. And again, I'm getting distracted again because of that dog. Always. Give me 1 second. So yeah, I make fewer mistakes with the genders now that I have done this process, because I think the reason for this is just because I'm so familiar with hearing la piel, or hearing. I'm pretty much, I think, experiencing what a native Spanish speaking toddler would experience, where they're not having to think, is this word masculine or feminine? Like, we have to think about that as native English speakers, because we have to first off learn what a masculine or feminine word is, because we don't have that in our language. And then on top of that, we have to memorize which words are masculine and which are feminine. I don't think native Spanish speakers, especially at young ages, are even cognizant of that. I think they just know, when I say lápiz, I put L in front of it. When I say cámara, I put la in front of it. I think they just learn them with the article attached to it, and so as a result of that, it's easier for them to not make mistakes. And so I'm experiencing that ease as well, because I'm so immersed in the language. It's less difficult to use the correct articles or the correct genders when I'm speaking. One of the most fruitful benefits of this experience has been my vocabulary increasing. My vocabulary has increased tremendously, and I would argue that most of that increase that I'm seeing is coming from words that would not be found in a dictionary. And I know this because I can't find a lot of the words that I've learned over the last few months. The last few weeks, the last month. The words that I've learned, I know I can't find them in a dictionary, or I can find them in a dictionary, but their meaning is not the meaning that's used in a lot of countries. So let me use a Colombian example first. And I think what I've also learned in this experience is that I'm going to focus more so, in terms of me speaking, on Colombian Spanish, and I'll explain why later in the video. But in Colombian Spanish, if I call you a sapo or una sapa, I'm pretty much calling you a frog. Now, if I Google that and translate that directly, it's not going to make sense. It's like, why would I call somebody a frog? What sapo or sapa really means in So as I was saying before our friends came by, what sapo or sapa really, what did I just say? Really means is I'm calling you a snitch. That's what that means in Colombian Spanish. And so that's just one small example. There are plenty of other examples of words that I've learned that I could articulate right now and tell you I learned these words this month simply through my immersion process. There are plenty of other words like that. And so, that feeling of not improving that I was describing in the other video, it has gone away because I am improving. I'm just deeper in the language, and so I have to kind of shuffle through the stuff that I already know to find those pieces of those words that I don't know. I don't know if that analogy makes sense. So, again, I don't know if this is the fourth benefit, fifth benefit, I can't remember, but an increase in my vocabulary has been another tangible benefit of this domestic immersion process. Another benefit that has really made me feel good, has made my heart warm, okay? A couple of weeks ago, and those of you that went with me, you know who you are. A couple of guys that I know that are subscribed to this channel that live in Atlanta, we all connected together and went to La Plaza Fiesta. And now if you're in Atlanta, you know this is a pretty much like a indoor market kind of thing with different shops, and it's heavily frequented by a lot of Latinos here in Atlanta. And so we went there and we practiced speaking Spanish. It was a great time, we practiced. But what I noticed was that a lot of times when I was interacting with the native Spanish speakers, for example, I was about to buy an El Salvador jersey, and I was, negotiating the price of the jersey and asking, hey, do you have this size, that size? The couple, they were like, usted de donde es? And their question was curious. They how can I describe this? Their demeanor was like, well, you're obviously a native Spanish speaker. Where are you from? Like, where are you from? You from Colombia? You from Panama? The way they were asking me it. And so I took that as like the biggest compliment. And I'm noticing that's happening a lot when I go to that plaza, when I go to other places that are frequented by a lot of Latinos or Hispanics here in Atlanta. People are assuming, and I'm not saying this to make myself feel good or edify myself, I'm just being honest. People are assuming that I'm a native Spanish speaker and are speaking to me that way. Like, they don't even respond to me in English. When I start speaking in Spanish, they don't even respond to me in English. Their entire demeanor goes into, oh, this is someone that speaks my language, and I'll speak to them in my language. And so that's another tangible benefit from that. It's shown me how much I've improved, but obviously that's a way that I can practice in day-to-day life, and so that's helped. But it's, I don't know if I articulated this point well, but it's shown me that my Spanish has improved a lot from in the beginning when I thought I would never speak the language. Okay, along with what I've mentioned about my vocabulary increasing, as a result of my vocabulary increasing, I noticed that my writing has also increased. And again, how am I gauging that? I'm simply gauging that by texting people that I know that are native Spanish speakers and having conversations. I'm noticing that I'm having to put less effort into constructing those sentences. You know how you get a text in English and you just take your phone out and you go, da, 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 you just respond like that? I can do that now in Spanish. I don't even have to think about what I'm typing. I'm just typing responses, going back and forth, having full conversations through WhatsApp or through text message, through messaging apps without any problem. So that's the next tangible benefit that I can say. Okay, the other benefit from this is that, and I think this may be the final benefit, is that me doing this process has calmed my desire to, how can I describe this? To formally study Spanish. I know I've said that I was addicted to that process, addicted to that feeling of constant progression, of linear progression. That's gone away now because I've learned through this month that I can still learn and improve on my Spanish by simply enjoying the process through immersion, watching videos consistently, listening to podcasts consistently, reading consistently, continuing to have conversations consistently. And at the level that I'm at now, that will be the best means of improving, is through that way versus sitting down and studying a grammar book or doing grammar exercises. That's just not going to be useful for me at the stage that I'm at now. So I wanted to share that. This month has also shown me, because I've improved so much, it's shown me that it's going to be very important that I pick a Spanish accent or a lexicon, if that's the proper word. Excuse my ignorance if that's not the proper word. And what I mean by that is this. If I were to start talking to you and I were to say, if I were to start using words from the southern United States with an accent from the southern United States, and then I start, and again, I apologize for those dogs, and then I start switching that and I start using words from New York and then words from Boston and then words from the West Coast, and then I start using words from the UK, or my accent then switches to an Australian accent, that would confuse us as native English speakers. It would just be weird. I can't even say it would be confusing. It would just be extremely weird. And I'm noticing now how that comes off if I do it in Spanish. So before I wasn't opposed to using words that I know that are from Colombia, then switching over to words that I know that are, you know, uniquely Mexican, then switching over to words that I've heard in Spain, and then switching over to using a certain grammatical structure that I've heard in Argentina. And I thought that that was cool because I was mixing all of the, I felt like I was universal in my understanding and speaking of Spanish, and that's a good thing to be, I think. But I'm noticing now that it makes it easier to be understood, and it just makes it easier for me to really improve and go deep, deep, deep in the language if I pick a specific country's accent and way of speaking. Now, I'm not gonna be over here saying ay parce, lo que gonorrea, o sea, acá en la ciudad. I'm not gonna be doing that. Okay, I'm not going that extreme in terms of the Colombian accent. But I think just because that's what I started out with, and that's what I'm most familiar with, and those are the people that I speak with most, and it's the first Spanish-speaking country that I visited as a Spanish speaker, I think that's the country's accent that I'm gonna focus on, the vocabulary from there, the way of speaking from there. It's just, I just like it. I'm gonna be honest, I like the way they speak. So that's another takeaway from this experience. I think everybody should tell me, like, you're gonna end up having to pick a specific accent. I never believed them, but now I see what they mean. So those are my takeaways from this month-long experiment of me doing some domestic immersion, getting back into the mud, back into the depths of the language learning world when it comes to Spanish. And as I mentioned, it's really helped me a lot. The other negative, well, I haven't mentioned any negatives, but the one negative aspect of this is that it's really shown me, guys, that there's no, again, unless I have just a strong desire to experience a new culture, there's no need, again, follow me, because I know I've said this before and people are like, well, the language is accompanied by the culture, and I understand that and I respect that, and I'm recognizing that and I'm aware of that. But in terms of if hypothetically I strictly focus on improving in the language, there is no need for me right now to, like, traveling is not a need, because everything that I'm experiencing here, I think I would have experienced had I done an immersion program, let's say, in another country. Now, granted, if I go and live with another family that only speaks Spanish and, like, I'm forced to improve that way, yes, that would be fruitful. But it's not impossible, sorry for that on my phone, it's not impossible for you to make steady gains and steady improvements here. And so I don't know if I've mentioned the negative yet, I'm kind of rambling here. The negative is that I right now don't have a desire to travel. And part of that is just because I'm just super content with life right now. I'm in a tennis league that I love. I'm going to yoga a lot more, and so I'm building community with, like, my people in my yoga class and my teammates on my tennis team. I'm entering a lot of tennis tournaments. I'm hanging out with my family, my friends, my brother, my dad a lot. So, like, I think that's part of the reason I don't have a desire to travel, because I'm enjoying life here in the summer in Georgia. That's my favorite season. But the only place that I do have a desire to go to right now is Spain. And again, I'm kind of rambling, guys, here, so if you want to cut the video off now, feel free to do that. I know I hate when people ramble in videos that I watch, but the reason for me wanting to go to Spain so much is because I think that would be a challenge for me. As I mentioned, when I went to Peru, I didn't really find it challenging to understand them. Right now, I think the challenge that I'm having, and again, if the wind hopefully isn't too bad, but the challenge that I'm finding now is that I don't know whether or not if I go to Spain, I'll really understand everybody. So that challenge is appealing to me. Obviously, learning about the culture in Spain and all that is appealing, but I don't know why my perspective on learning Spanish is kind of like a game. It's kind of like a challenge. Like, all right, I've not mastered, but I can now understand when I go to Latin American countries, I can understand that. Let's see if I can understand the accent from Spain when I go. That will be a challenge. Like, landing there, I think, will be fun and challenging to see if I understand that. The next challenge after that would be someplace like Puerto Rico, where the accent is completely different, or Cuba, where the accent is completely different. So those are the places that are que me están llamando la atención, that are calling my attention right now. So hopefully that's enough for this video. This video has been super long. The last 3 minutes, I feel like I've been rambling. Hopefully, as always, this video has been helpful. Let me know if you plan on doing something similar to this, or if you've already done something similar to this. How has it helped you? How has it served you? I'm curious to know in the comments below what you think. But guys, I can wholeheartedly recommend this. Like, this is like it's not a detox, like that doesn't make sense, but you know how people do detoxes and you just feel so much like, you just feel better after that. I've never done one, but that's what people say. You just feel so much better and lighter after that. I feel super refreshed in my desire and urge to improve in Spanish after this experience, so I wholeheartedly recommend it. Enough with that. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Hope you all enjoy the videos that I have coming out. Also, I wanted to mention, I put a post on this in the community tab, but this summer I've been actively working on writing a book. I think I have about 100 pages of the book written now, but this book will be hot specifically for beginners and intermediate learners. That it's going to be the same thing that I've recommended on this channel, but I think the difference with this book is going to be that I'm a native speaker that has taught myself Spanish, and what I noticed with a lot of these resources and even with my tutors is that there are things that they assume that we would understand that we don't, and that we have to kind of learn and pick up on our own. And so my hope in this book is that it lays out everything as clear as possible. Like, there won't be a lot of grammar terminology. It's just going to be like, just going to be a straight shot guide to how I learn Spanish and how you can learn it hopefully even faster than I have. So just wanted to add that at the end. I'll be doing that in a couple of weeks, a couple of months. I'll be coming out with that, but I'll give you all more information as I get close to the end of writing that. Ciao, I talk too much. Que tengan un buen día. Mira. Chao. Que tengan un buen día. Chao, chao, chao.